Snake milker. It really is what it sounds like. Let's start with the obvious. You must be completely unfazed by snakes to even consider this line of work. It's intimate hands-on dealing with highly venomous serpents, from vicious rattlers to cobras, could kill you with one vengeful bite. Now, snake milkers must approach these lethal creatures calmly and fearlessly. A typical day would usually involve them gently maneuvering a Russian viper into their grip, prying open its jaws, and expertly guiding those dripping fangs into a vial to extract every drop of venom. Specialized handling equipment and stringent safety protocols are all very important, as one false move could result in a bite that lands you in the hospital or a grave. What's wild is the vital role milked venom plays, especially in medical research and anti-venom production. Those vials of liquid death that snake milkers so fearlessly collect could save countless lives by allowing experts to analyze them or synthesize antidotes. Now, if you have the skill for it, it could bag you an extra $40,000 a year. Not bad for a side hustle that may or may not put you in lifelong medical debt. Crime scene cleaner. These are the guys who are called in when the worst has happened and there's been violence or tragedy. They're the ones who tackle the horrible aftermath that no one else can stomach. If this were your job, you'd be sitting down for dinner and your phone rings with, "Yeah, we got a real mess downtown that's gonna need your special skills." Because as you can imagine, crime scene cleaning requires stoicism and emotional fortitude. These professionals have to look at some of the most disturbing, gut-wrenching scenes humanity offers and not flinch, with their mindset being along the lines of just another day at the bloodbath office. You can't just arrive on the scene and start cheerfully spraying Febreze. These cleaners have insane protocols, hazmat procedures, and specialized equipment to ensure the area is 100% decontaminated afterward with zero traces left behind. At the end of the day, you'll have to weigh if scraping someone off the street is worth $18 an hour. Bomb disposal tech. If you're looking to earn a not-so-easy $66,000 a year with just the small risk of dying on the job, then we might have a proposal for you. When you picture the scenes they have to routinely walk into, perhaps your 9-to-5 doesn't seem as bad. They could be navigating a building full of tripwires, having to locate and dismantle an improvised explosive device with their own bare hands, to defusing a suitcase that may or may not have a C4 explosive inside. At the core of this, you've got to be someone with a scarily steady hand and the ability to keep their nerves of steel under unlimited pressure. One shaky move, one miscalculation, and that's all it takes for it to end in the worst way possible. The mix of technical knowledge and innovative problem-solving abilities needed for bomb disposal is widely impressive too. Because unlike what you're led to believe in movies, criminals and terrorists take their time making these bombs. To them, they are an expression of art at the very least, in a criminal sense. The effort that goes to making these homemade explosives are usually extensive, with many layers to confuse the diffuser in case they try anything. Half the job is likely thinking of clever ways to bypass each device's unique detonation triggers. So if you've heard everything that's been said and you thought, yeah, I'm gonna make a living from that, then you can report to the nearest police training station for briefing. Slaughterhouse Worker. Just the title Slaughterhouse Worker carries this heavy, meaty weight. Your mind immediately flashes to bloody kill floors, sharp knives, and hanging animal carcasses. The wild part is that these workers have to utterly divorce themselves from those visuals and just treat it like any other job all day, every day. Every morning, they punch the clock and mentally prepare to spend hours surrounded by death and dismemberment on an industrial scale. At the same time, slaughterhouse work requires this paradoxical blend of care and cold detachment, and these animals must not be treated as living beings, but rather as just food. They're essentially dealing with brute slaughter and animal death minute to minute, day in and day out. But at least at the end of the day, they have a family and their wives to return to and get away from that. Well, about that. The FDA estimates that 93% of the meat house workers' marriages are in shambles. Who would have thought hours of senseless killing at $18 an hour would desensitize a man? Professional ethical hacker. If you've been on the web long enough, you will surely have encountered the hacker group Anonymous. Anonymous is usually famous for hacking government organizations, cartels, and others. But assuming a talented computer nerd with a skill for computing and coding abilities that let them hack into systems would decide to put his ability for good, then we have an ethical hacker, which will get you an easy $100K a year on average. Companies actually hire ethical hackers to try and break into their networks and systems purposely. They basically pay these guys to act like criminals, exposing any vulnerabilities or weaknesses in their cyber defenses before the real criminals can exploit them. So, one minute the ethical hacker is utilizing all these crazy black hat tactics and tools, the next they're turning around and showing their client exactly how they did it so those holes can be patched up. Ethical hackers always have to be several moves ahead, thinking like the ultimate cyber criminal genius while operating firmly within legal and ethical boundaries. Professional Cuddler. At first, you might dismiss it as another weird internet niche that Redditors know about. Still, you must realize there's a real need and psychology behind providing platonic cuddling services. For some people out there, a professional cuddle session is their primary source of physical intimacy and human comfort. There's no romance, no complications, just a safe space to cuddle it out. To play the devil's advocate, think of having someone who just gives off warm, peaceful, reassuring energy like they walk into a room and immediately put people at ease with their presence. It's an art form, really. Because at least at the end of the day, it gets you paid with sessions costing anywhere between $100 to $300 an hour. Just goes to show anything can be monetized if you think hard enough. Professional Mermaid and Merman. Perhaps many of us dreamed of having a mermaid tail and breathing underwater as kids, but it's a full 9-to-5 job for these people for $21 an hour. While the job advertisements might not read out "Merfolk Wanted," there's a whole mesmerizing subculture built around bringing those mythical mermaid vibes to events, exhibits, and shows. These professional mermaids and mermen are full-on performers and ambassadors for ocean-related things at any theme park. They must usually get fully decked out in elaborate, brilliantly colored tails and seashell-encrusted tops. The makeup and hair alone take hours of committed mermaid glamming. Perhaps the wildest part is the training that goes into it. Apparently, you can just buy a tail and head for an audition. No, these merpeople put in serious work perfecting their breath-holding abilities, dive techniques, and underwater choreography, as children at these parks have to really believe that mermaids exist. Professional food taster. At first glance, you might think it's just a glorified excuse to be a professional glutton, but there's actually a ton of skill and expertise that goes into being a professional food taster. These people essentially have an exquisitely trained palate capable of detecting even the most subtle flavors, textures, and aromatic notes. Then you've got to consider the context in which these tasters are employed, evaluating recipes for big food brands, providing quality control at production facilities, or labeling as part of scientific taste studies. What's particularly wild about this career is the places it could theoretically take you. Sure, taste testing a new Doritos flavor might not seem too glamorous, but the next week you could be jetting off to some remote region of Italy to sample traditional delicacies and wines. Professional Mourner. For this, you have to start by peeling back the layers. This line of work plays an important cultural and emotional role, particularly in certain traditions and societies. Let that image just marinate for a second. A group of strangers wailing, keening, and dramatizing the anguish of death on behalf of a family. It's an incredibly symbolic act of taking on that metaphorical cross of mourning so that loved ones can have that sacred space to experience their sorrow more privately. You're essentially there to show how sad the family is about someone they truly loved passing away. These hired mourners do just more than wail and scream about how someone has died. Usually they have to go out of their way and act out how sad they are. You might think of it as odd, but this is essentially what all your favorite actors do on screen. The most seasoned mourners likely have to find better ways to keep these outpourings feeling raw and unique each time, as it's quite literally their job. Professional Netflix viewer. With this, you probably roll into the office, or probably just in your living room, with a plush recliner, a pool of snacks within arm's reach, and a massive TV primed for a full-day Netflix marathon that will beg you anywhere from $35,000 to $85,000 a year if you're really into watching back-to-back episodes of BoJack Horseman. The hardest part of your workday is deciding whether to dive into a gripping new drama series or revisit an old comedy favorite for easy laughs. But to be fair, these viewers aren't allowed to zone out or fall asleep. They must be at their best when binge watching to analyze everything from cinematography to plot development to acting performances. At the same time, there's gotta be an insanely competitive hiring process to land one of these coveted roles, with interviewing being along the lines of, "You claim to be the world's foremost Stranger Things expert, able to dissect every interdimensional horror. Prove it." However, once they get that Netflix viewer role, these individuals are usually the first to see the next season of Stranger Things. Professional sleeper. This really does challenge our traditional notions of work and pushes the boundaries of what we consider a legitimate profession. At its core, a professional sleeper gets paid to sleep, literally. Their job involves participating in sleep studies, product testing, or medical research related to sleep patterns, disorders, and the effects of various interventions or environments on sleep quality. What makes this career so unusual is that most people associate sleeping with leisure, relaxation, or simply a biological necessity, not something one would get paid to do professionally. Yet, for individuals in this line of work, their ability to sleep on demand and in specific conditions becomes a valuable commodity for researchers and companies. Professional sleepers often undergo rigorous screening and training to ensure they can consistently fall asleep and maintain sleep cycles under various circumstances. They may be required to wear monitoring equipment, follow strict sleep schedules, or even adjust their sleep patterns to accommodate study protocols. However, being a professional sleeper can be quite demanding, as it may involve irregular sleep schedules, disruptions, or even sleep deprivation protocols.